So what is it that actually makes an attitude?
Behavior.
Your behavior, your response, your action. Now, I would have said all of those things until it hit me. The common denominator in both of those stories is something that starts with G and ends in O's. When the person achieves their goals, what kind of attitude do they have?
Good.
A good attitude. When you don't achieve your goals, you have what kind of an attitude? A bad attitude. So when you encounter someone with a bad attitude, what is the one thing that you know for sure about them? They're not achieving their goals. All right? And typically what helpers like myself try to do is we have a responsibility when we meet somebody with a bad attitude, and it's a two-part responsibility. The first is to help them what? Achieve their goal. If I can help them achieve their goal, then they will have a good attitude. But what if their goal is a crazy goal? It's outlandish. There's no way they're ever going to be able to do that. Then my job is to help them find a different goal. All right? And let me tell you, when I figured that out as a teenager, that helped my life go a lot better. Because a lot of times, all they wanted me to do was to change my goal. All right? So, that's just something to think about. We don't need that. We don't need that. We don't need that. We don't need that. We'll skip that. All right. So a lot of times people get really confused about what diversity is, because if I asked 100 people what diversity was, how many answers do you think I'd get? I'd get an easily 200, right? And so what that tells me is that it's lost its meaning. So what should we be thinking about, or what's at the core? And I'd like to offer you this as a tool you can use to think about how we should create better human relationships. Right? It's also referred to as the golden rule. Right? Everybody heard the golden rule? What's the golden rule? Oh, okay. It was a different rule in my house. The golden rule was he who makes the goal makes the rules. That was the golden rule. Anyway, so there's dignity and honor in being human. What is dignity? What is that? What's dignity? Respect, self-respect. Okay? Aaron? What's dignity? Okay, so respect. Or Nathan, respect. What is it? I mean, what is dignity? Have you ever thought of that?
Yeah.
Okay. So give me one of your thoughts.
It's like, being good to others.
Okay, so being good. Okay, being good to others. Is dignity something that you can have? Now, are you Alex or?
I'm Jesse.
Jesse. Okay, she's throwing me off. Throwing me off. All right. So I got to transpose. All right. So Jesse, is dignity something that you have or something that you can give? It's something that you have. Okay. Is it something you have or something you give out? It is, in fact, both. What? It is. It is something you can have, and it's also something you can give. And I don't know if you've noticed these people around town, but there are these people who stand by the side of the road with cardboard signs. Right? What do those cardboard signs typically say, or what are they asking for? They're asking for money, they're asking for food. What else?
Shelter.
Okay, job, shelter, that kind of stuff. What was that? What did you say? Beer. They ask for beer. All right. So I see those signs as well, and I give them things. But guess what? I do not give them money. I'm not giving. I work for the government. I know there's tons of social programs that people can get into, so I'm not giving them money. But one thing I do give people is respect, and I give them dignity. And how do I give them dignity? One of the things that I do is I make eye contact with them. I smile. How many times have you been with friends and they say, or they see some of those people on the street and they act like they got a telephone call, just so they don't have to interact or touch those folks, right? Oh, yeah. Okay, good. Right? I would suggest that you use wisdom in terms of interacting with those folks. But what harm does a smile or making eye contact do? Is there any harm? No. When you make eye contact with someone, what are you saying to them in that brief second? I respect you. I see you. Right? What was that? I recognize that you're human. Right? One of the things that the Bible talks about is it doesn't say give all your money to the poor. It says preach to the poor. How can you preach to them if you're not what? If you're not talking to them, if you can't see them, you don't recognize them, right? Who did Jesus hang out with? That's usually number 2 on the list. Well, yes, you are correct. So he hung out with poor people. He hung out with the prostitutes. He hung out with the lepers. He even hung out with dead people, which is kind of weird, right? Because he went down and he said, Lazarus, come forth! Right? So, anyway, so he hung with those people that society said don't deal with. All right? What is honor? What is honor? All is my honor, I will try as duty to be done. Okay, go ahead. What's honor?
Your voice does say it.
My honor is to do my best to do my duty to God and my country, to obey the spell of God, to love people and all that, to keep myself into this ground. That's the way to moral state.
Very good. And it's, you know what's really sad? Is I'm a scout leader and I don't remember that. At any rate, so honor is respect, but at a high level. Okay? So who in our society are we supposed to give honor to? Or give high respect to? Authority. To authority. Okay, what else? Our elders, our parents, people who have done things on our behalf, police officers, servicemen and women who fight wars for us. All right? So we're to give those people high respect. Next question. Please raise your hand if you can answer yes to these next 2 questions. Raise your hand if you purchased a ticket or you passed a test that made you eligible to be born on this planet. Anybody take a test or a ticket? Right? Did we do anything ourselves to bring ourselves here? No. What was that? We swam fast. So, we did swim pretty fast. It's good. It's good. Outside of that, all we did is respond to an invitation. I don't want to think about how that invitation came. That was absolutely disgusting. But we all accepted an invitation, and here we are. It is not we who made us. Who made us? God. And why? He made us for a purpose, which is this next part. Right? So human. So there's dignity and honor in being human. Now, when you look human up in the dictionary, you'll find that it has 2 meanings. One is a noun, being a homo sapiens sapien, the one who knows that they exist. Being a biped, having opposable thumbs, a big brain, and a belly button. If you ever encounter a person without a belly button, be concerned. So human is a noun. Human is also what? An adjective. And what do adjectives do? They describe the noun. And so what is it that we teach our brothers and sisters, the babies in our lives, the young ones, about what it means to be human? What do we teach them about that? What do we teach them about what it means to be human? What does it mean to be human? Do we have any humans in here? What lessons have you learned about what it means to be human?
We're not perfect.
We're not perfect.
Clearly.
Clearly not perfect. Yes,
We're not
sir.
always punctual.
What's that?
We're not always punctual.
We're not always punctual. Okay. What does it mean to be human? Yes. Yes. To care for one another. All right. What else does it mean to be human? All right. So we have to have all the parts. Okay. Human. What does it mean to be human? To think. How many people have dogs? I have a dog. Okay. Is your dog human? How do you know? You can't talk. What else? They don't have thumbs. All right. Yeah, it smells like, you know. I've seen some teenagers do that. All right. All right. So there's dignity and honor in being human. So we're going to move one a little faster. So I'm going to show a little bit of a clip, and I want us to talk a little bit about what we find in this clip. So here we go.
Are men better than women in science? Are certain races smarter? Those are the stereotypes, but now some psychologists say stereotypes can become self-fulfilling prophecies.
What's the ratio here of a 2 parts to a mate?
Ever seen this ad depicting a ditzy woman trying to get into college? What are your plans for the future?
Like when are the homecoming queen elections?
One study showed that women who watched ads like this before taking a math test scored 38% lower than women who didn't see the ad. An Athens Education and Test Prep company helped us run similar tests. And sure enough, on our unscientific test, the women who saw the sexist commercials did worse. Some later told us they found those results hard to believe. It's so powerful that just watching the dumb ad could make a difference.
No, I don't think so.
The women in your group did worse.
The only way for it to work is that you have to internalize it. I guess you don't know what's really affecting you, which is creepy in and of itself.
This stereotype effect has been found in study after study, says NYU psychology professor Joshua Aronson.
We found that just reminding the women that they were college students at a selective college overcame the gender gap. However, when we remind them that they're women, the gap widens.
You tell Asians that, remember, Asians do well in math?
Yes.
Their scores go up.
Yes.
Then what does the stereotype that blacks test poorly do to a black person who's about to take a test?
The situation of taking an IQ test for a black kid is so loaded that it's not a direct measure of their intelligence.
He found he could change blacks' test scores simply by saying different things before the test.
Tell people taking a test that this isn't a test at all, it's a puzzle. The black students' scores jump dramatically. Mindset matters.
That was also found in golf experiments, demonstrated here, done by Jeff Stone at the University of Arizona.
The test is designed to measure personal factors correlated with natural athletic ability.
First, black and white students are told the miniature golf game tests athletic ability.
Natural athletic ability, natural athletic ability.
After hearing that, blacks perform better. Blacks, after all, have heard plenty about blacks being natural athletes.
I'm confident in my ability, so when I heard it was a test of that, I was like, okay, well, I know I'm going to score somewhere on the high rate to see how I can go with this.
Oh! But when students were told the golf game is a test of intelligence,
The test is designed to measure personal factors correlated with sports intelligence.
his study found the black scores were 18% worse.
Oh, come on.
Some of this research showing that stereotypes can become self-fulfilling prophecies was inspired by Jane Elliott's surprising experience.
It might be interesting to judge people today by the color of their eyes. Would you like to try this?
Almost 40 years ago, this Iowa school teacher decided she'd show the kids what it was like to live with discrimination. So she divided her classes by eye color. ABC happened to be there to film one of her tests.
I mean, the blue-eyed people are the better people in this room. Oh, yes, they are. This is a fact. Blue-eyed people are better than brown-eyed people.
She had the so-called inferior brown-eyed group wear these identifying collars. She told them they were lazy and slow. They'd have shorter recess.
Brown-eyed people are not to play with the blue-eyed people on the playground.
The kids' behavior soon changed. Brown-eyed kids were miserable. The next day, she reversed the rule.
Yesterday, I told you that brown-eyed people aren't as good as blue-eyed people. That wasn't true. The truth is that brown-eyed people are better than blue-eyed people.
Then she gave them a flashcard test.
Okay, want to be time this morning?
After the brown-eyed kids had been labeled inferior, it took them 5 minutes to finish the flashcards. But the next day, when they were the superior group, they finished in half the time.
I had no idea that you could change a child's academic performance. It never occurred to me that that would really work. On the day the kids were on the top, their academic performance was better than it had ever been before in my classroom.
You went faster than I've ever had anyone go through hard that.
When you're told you're superior, you act up to that.
But the children she treated as inferior that day did much worse.
I set them up to fail, and they failed.
4 minutes and 18 seconds. I knew it wasn't you. How long did it take you yesterday?
The inferior group of kids seemed deeply affected by the day's test.
I said, "You want to take these collars off?" And she said, "It wouldn't make any difference." And I said, "Why? What do you mean?" She said, "We'll still have these eyes." Honey, it isn't my fault you're stupid.
Today, Elliot does this exercise with older students. Again, discriminating against half the class based on eye color.
Would you like me to go get my paper and pencil? I wouldn't like you in any way, shape, or form.
They know it's just an exercise, but being treated as inferior still has a powerful effect.
Persecuted her for standing out. Persecuted him for standing out. The only change that ever happened was people stand out and
The good news, researchers say, is that if students and teachers are just aware of the stereotype effect, they're on their way to overcoming at least part of it.
And if you aren't aware, you'll let it happen. And you'll take that in, and it will become part of your psyche. You don't have to take it in. So it's time to kill the stereotypes.
Does the color of eyes that you have make any difference in the kind of person you are?
So, what did you see? What did you notice? What did you think?
It seems like if somebody wanted to get a lot of power over different people, it would be easier.
Okay? You said if someone wants to get power over people, it would be relatively easy. Okay? Just by saying something, you can have a really big effect on someone, even if you don't know that you're having that effect on them. Yes?
Shouldn't always believe when we hear it.
You shouldn't always believe what we hear. All right? What else? Did you notice and you saw? Yes, sir.
Knowing that you're either good or vice versa, you can change your outcome.
You can change your outcome just by knowing that you can do good or you can be bad or you can do bad. But you have ultimate control of that outcome. All right? Dignity, honor, and being human. What do you think your life would be like if everyone treated you with dignity and honor, not because you have the right clothes, or you have the right hairstyle, you have the right body type, you have the right personality, but what if people treated you with dignity everywhere you went, just because you existed? What do you think your life might be like? Would it be different? Would it be better, do you think? What do you think you would make someone else's life like if you gave that to them? One of the things that I often hear is, I'm going to pass these cards. You take one and pass them back. If you have extras on your roll, just pass them back. So one of the things that I find really interesting is that there are 5 reasons why we don't give people respect. The first reason we typically don't give people respect is because they say to us what? Do as I say, not as I do. And why do we not give those people respect? Because they're hypocrites. If it's not good enough for you, what makes you think it's going to be good enough for me? Right? But the people who walk their talk, or we see living this life, this Christian life, who do we give respect to? To those folks, right? When we see people actually living out the values that they say are important. Because words are cheap. Anybody can say what? Anything. They can say what they're going to do. But the real proof in the pudding is when we see it. Right? So we'll skip number 2. We'll go down to number 3. The other reason we typically don't give people respect is we don't give people respect to say, boys will be boys. Or that's how it's always been. There's really no need to change because this is just how we do it. Why do we not give those people respect? Why do they not earn our respect? Because sometimes we think they're wrong. Yes, sir? What's that? They're not strong enough to change, or they're not strong enough to realize that it's time to change. Right? Number 3. We'll come back to number 2. Number 4, people say, that's not my child. That's not my responsibility. Somebody else will take care of that. What do we know about if we give somebody else responsibility when we can take it ourselves? Does it typically get done? No. Especially if there's nobody assigned to it. In college, I learned that lesson because there were 4 of us living in a 2-bedroom apartment. And all of the guys in this apartment, we decided that everybody would wash their own dish. What do you think happened? Nobody did the dishes, right? And it was actually, we got to a point where we were like, let's just see what's going to happen if we don't. You know, the molds, that was just disgusting. Right? That's why we have moms, though. You know, just calling in. Anyway, so we typically don't, if we don't take responsibility, we can't count on somebody else to necessarily take responsibility. And one of the other reasons that we don't give somebody respect is that we don't see disrespect as an act of violence. So when violence happens, when violence is enacted on someone, what is the residue or what's left over after that violence occurs? What's left over? How do people feel once violence has happened? They feel hurt. What else do they feel? What else do they feel? Fear. What else? They feel angry. What else? Rejected. Now, I want you to think about those words. Now, I want you to think about what happens when someone's been disrespected. When someone gets disrespected, do they go, oh, thank you! I appreciate that. Is that what happens? No. What do they typically, what happens? What do you feel? They feel hurt. They feel angry. They feel all those things that they also felt after violence. And so one of the things as a high school teacher that I really would ride my students on, and every now and then, they did it less frequently once they started to know me than they did when they first met me, was that they would tell each other to shut up. Have you ever heard someone say that? I think that's probably one of the most violent things that you can say to another individual. Because what that says is, you matter so little that the breath you take to utter your idea is not worth hearing. Now that's a motivator, isn't it? So that causes hurt. The other reason, this last reason we typically don't get respect is very interesting because I've heard people say this and I just kind of shake my head when I hear it because I would hear it all the time as a high school teacher. Right? So we're going over the syllabus at the beginning of the semester, and I'm laying out the ground rules, and one of them is respect. And I always had this tough guy kind of stand up and say, Andre, you got to earn my respect. Just like that, right? And I'm like, that's disgusting, dude. Don't do that to me. Right? Have you ever heard somebody say that you have to earn my respect? Anyone heard that? Yeah, you heard a teacher say that? Yeah. I've heard people say that. And so I would always ask the student, I said, I have to earn your respect. And he, right? And he said, yeah. And I'm like, dude, quit doing that, for real, right? But I asked him, I said, okay, where's the checklist? When is the final exam? How do I ever know that I've done enough to earn your respect? And what do you think his response was? That was it. What do you think? Did you know that dude? Right? He was like, And so this is what I want to give you as a gift. I want to give you this as a gift. And you don't have to agree with me for me to be right. But respect can never be earned. It can only be given. You can't earn respect. You can only give respect. Now, here's the trick. And the good book talks about this. And when I got it, I was like, ooh, I don't know if I want to get that. The good book says if someone offends you and slaps your cheek, you are to do what? Turn the other cheek and offer that one. Now, I know. She's like, I would just knock it out. Anybody seen The Hills? Anybody seen The Hills? Man, I love that show. It is so air, it is so fluff. And Lauren just left. And who came last season? Was it Kristen? No, it was Jessica. There's no Jessica in the show. I think it was Kristen. Was it Kristen? Oh, you want to hear a Jersey Shore dude? Anyway, I like Kristen because she's a fighter. And she's like... Now here's the funny part. Why does the good book say I should turn my cheek? Why is that a spiritual principle? For balance, okay? It doesn't cause a continuation of a hurt or violence, right? In the natural, what would you do if somebody slapped you? You slap them back, right? I was like, right? What's that? Is she a good like that? Sweet. Right? So it's a spiritual principle because in our natural mind, I would, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, leaves everybody what? Blind and toothless. Right? And so that's a spiritual principle. Now, the interesting thing about that spiritual principle is that the good book says that it's not really giving respect. It's not really loving someone until you give it to people who what? Don't deserve it. Is it easy to give somebody respect who's very respectful to you? Oh yeah, that's easy. And guess what the good book says? What reward is that? What reward is that? If you're nice to somebody who's nice to you, if you're friends with someone who's friendly to you. And so what the good book says is that we have to offer and give respect to people who don't deserve it. Now, the funny thing is, we sometimes get confused about that, right? Because have you ever had somebody do something to you and a friend of yours saw it and you took it and you were walking in your Christian walk and you said, I'm not going to respond to that, that's negative, that's not part of the lifestyle that I want to be a part of. And one of your friends walks up to you and says, why did you take that? You don't deserve that. They shouldn't talk to you that way. Has anybody ever had a friend say something like that? Don't be a doormat. Has anyone heard that expression? Don't be a doormat. What does that mean? Don't be a doormat. Don't just lie there. Don't let them walk all over you. Right? One of the things I think is really interesting is that there is a difference between being a doormat, having people walk all over you, and being a bridge for someone. All right? What are some of the verbs that happen on a doormat? What are some of the things you do on a doormat? You wipe your feet on it. What else? You stomp on it. What else? You can wipe your shoes on it. You walk on it. What do you also do with the bridge? You can walk on the bridge. Can you wipe your feet on the bridge? Yeah. Can you stomp on the bridge? What's the difference between a doormat and a bridge? A bridge is taking you someplace. When we talk about, being a doormat, guess what we're saying? Guess what we're saying to God? We're saying, God, why? Me. Why is this happening to me? Why are they talking about me? Why? Blah, 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 blah. And guess what God is saying? Why not you? God is consistently asking us, are we going to be a doormat and focus all about ourselves? Or are we going to be bridges that help take people to different places? All right? So I'm going to tell you a story. I'm going to use some explicit lyrics. So I don't encourage you to use these lyrics, but I want you to take this as an object lesson of what it means to be a bridge. All right? So I'm picking up some lunch over in Mounds View. I live in Mounds View, and it's about 10:30 in the afternoon, in the morning, rather. And so I'm going to get an early lunch so I can get on with my day. And so I go in, and it's a bar restaurant. And so at the end of the bar, there's a guy who's drunk, and his face is all red. And it's 10:30 in the morning. So what do you think I know about this dude already? He's probably alcoholic. Would they let him be this drunk if they didn't know him? No. Right? So they obviously know him. He's been here before. So this is like his place. And so I order my lunch and I close my menu. And the guy moves from the end of the bar and sits right next to me. Now, I'm not afraid of drunk people because I can fight them. I'm not a black belt. I'm a brown belt. Actually, he's black. But I'm not afraid of them. But drunk people are just unpredictable. You never know what they're going to do. And so I'm sitting there, and he sits next to me, and I just kind of go, here we go. And he looks over at me. First I do the small thing, the small chit-chat we do as Minnesotans, the Minnesota nice thing. Right? So I do that whole thing, and he turns to me and he says, I don't like niggers. I'm not quite sure what to do with that. Right? I don't know what to do with that. And so I do the other Minnesota nice thing that we try to do, which is change the subject. So I'm like, let's talk about sports or whatever. But something in my spirit said, go back and talk about that. So I go back to it and I say, when you use that word, what are you talking about? And he said, I'm talking about welfare, people on welfare, people who are lazy, inarticulate, undereducated, and just plain old ghetto. He had this whole list. And so I looked at him and I said, well, do you know any white people who fit that description? And he looks at me and he says, yeah. I said, oh, how about those twins? So we start talking about the twins and moving on to other stuff. And then he turns to me a little while later and he says, you know what? I don't like niggers, but I like you. So now I'm really confused because am I not? What's going on? And so I look at him and I said, I'm trying not to laugh. I said, what is it about me that you like? And so he goes down this list and says, you seem to have a good head on your shoulders, you're articulate, you seem to be like a good worker, and just an all-around nice guy. And so I look at him and I say, well, what if all the people that you've met that you think look like you, all the people that you've met that you think look just like me. And he looks at me and he says, I got to pee. So he gets up. So by this time, I'm like, woo! So I'm getting my check, I'm signing my stuff out, I'm looking, I don't see him, and so I start heading towards the door. And guess who meets me at the door? It's this guy. But he looks a little bit different. His hair is combed over to the side, he's got water driplets on his face, and he has a damn paper towel. And he reaches out to me and he says, I have chickens, and we get fresh eggs. If you ever need fresh eggs, give me a call. So I take the paper towel, I go my way, and he goes his way. What happened for that man? What happened for him?
He walked over a bridge.
I walked over a bridge. Would you, if I had said, within myself, I'm going to give this dude a piece of my mind. I'm going to tell him off because he called me a dirty, nasty name. I'm going to just let him have it. Would you have understood if I had done that? Would you have understood if I gave him a piece of my mind? Would I have been within my rational right? Would I have been Christian if I had done that? Because Christ says, offer that other side. Christ says you can be a man if you want to. And that is your reward. But what did I do with that man? I showed him respect. I showed him dignity. I showed him honor. And I took him from one place to where? Someplace else. I became a bridge for him. There's some stories that I'm sure you're familiar with where people used to worship this god called Baal. They used to worship this god called Baal. And so they built altars to Baal and all these things. And people would make human sacrifices to Baal. And Baal would never show up. Those were doormats. Me. I can't do enough to please Baal, so let me cut myself. I've given all my lamb and my sheep and my dove and all that kind of stuff. Let me cut myself. Oh, that's not worship. That's not enough for Baal. So let's move on to something else for Baal. Let's give Baal a virgin. And maybe Baal will be happy. Baal never has enough. But for us, we had a possible mat turned into what? A bridge. To take us from who we were to who we could be. Right? If I hadn't had that interaction with that guy, if I had told him off, what would have happened for him? Would he have had the same thoughts? He might have had worse thoughts. Because I would have confirmed everything that he thought about people who he thought looked like me. Alright? Mindset matters. The way you see the world is extremely important. All right? So we're going to do an activity. Everybody have one? Does everybody have a marker as well? So you can pass those markers along. What's that? All right. So what I'd like you to do, does everybody have a marker now? No. Is there another box?
I can mark this.
Yep, you can pass that box.
Up here.
To these guys.
Thank you.
do is I'd like you to put a plus. So the groups in light blue are groups who tried to teach you something or had something to say about the groups across the top in gray. All right? So your parents and family, your friends, your school and workplace, TV and movies and media, and your personal experience. What have they taught you or tried to teach you about African Americans, European Americans, Latino, Latina Americans, Asian Americans, disabled Americans, or Native Americans? What I'd like you to do, if you've learned something positive, I want you to put a plus. If you've learned something negative, I want you to put a minus. If you didn't learn anything at all, I want you to put a 0. All right? You can have pluses and minuses in the same boxes. You can have pluses and minuses in the same boxes, but the size of your plus and the size of your minus determine how much you learn. All right? So something positive, a plus, something negative, a minus. If you learn nothing, a 0, and you can have pluses and minuses in the same box. Please stop right where you are. What I'd like you to do is to get in groups of 4 and find a place in the room and have a conversation in your group. All right? One thing I would warn you, I would encourage you not to group with your friends. So if you have friends that you hang out with a lot, you're at church or at school, try to divide yourselves up and multiply. You will rue the day you made. Yeah, well, you will be ruining it.
Here's my voice flat twice. All right, can we come back together,
about what kinds of things you talked about in your group. What were some things or things that came up in your group? Were there some common experiences? Were there some things that were very different? Yes, ma'am. Okay, so she said you might have a better outlook on a different race or a different group of people if you have a friend who is, because you know that at least that person is a good person. Right? Other things that came up. Yes.
A lot of them have a lot of things, positive and negative, a lot of
Okay, a lot of people had a lot of mixed, both positives and negatives for groups. Okay.
I think it's late, by the way.
That okay.
Late.
Late. Okay, sorry. Late. Okay.
School generally teaches us positive things about democracy, but negative things about European.
Okay, so you learn a lot of negative things about European Americans, but a lot of positive things about other groups. Okay? Other groups. Yes? Okay, so the media is usually very positive stuff or very negative stuff. Yes?
Media or something that turns out negative effect on the final accidents.
Okay, so we talk about work ethic and stuff like that is typically negative.
Sometimes we work with them.
Okay, cool. Other places. Yes, sir.
That our grandparents were more.
Okay, so your grandparents are very discriminatory against certain races. Okay? What's that? Old people are just very honest. Interesting. Talk about that. What do you mean by that?
I can't call my cousin back today.
You call your cousin back today? Okay. Sometimes they don't have filters. Okay, so they don't think about what they want to say? Yes, sir.
They grew up when
They grew up when the world was a different place. Okay? How many people are driving now?
Oh, I tried.
Okay. All right, cool. The car, how many people have ever ridden in a car? The car or the truck or the SUV, the car, the truck or SUV you were in, did it have blind spots?
Yep.
And typically, where were those blind spots? On the side, the front, where else? The back. All right. All right. And if you drive a Hummer, the whole thing is a blind spot. Right? So, are those blind spots your fault? Let's do it like this. I'll ask this question. How many people were on the design team for the car that they drive? Right? So it's not your fault. However, it is your what? Responsibility. Right? The world that we live in is currently not your fault. But it is now our what? Responsibility. And to be quite honest, the generations that follow us will judge us on how well we took on our responsibility. Global warming, whether it's happening or not happening, is it your fault? No. But it is our responsibility to make sure that whatever is going on that's negative in the world, that it stops with us. Racism, is it your fault? No. Some people didn't say anything, so I'm going to ask it like this. Raise your hand if you were on the committee to set up racism. Well, that's right? No, you didn't set it up. Sexism. Did we set it up? No, we didn't set it up. Well, we inherited that, so now it has responsibility. Now, I drive a Saturn Vue. When I go out of town, I try to rent a Prius. I love Prius. Are the blind spots in my Saturn Vue the same as the blind spots in my Prius? No. So how do I find out about these blind spots?
By driving.
There's two ways I can find out, right? I can bump into somebody or crash into something and go, oh, there's my blind spot. Or what's the better way? What's the other way that I can find this blind spot? This thing that I don't know exists. I can look for something. I can try to observe. I can adjust my mirrors and try to find those blind spots. Now this is really tricky. To find a blind spot, you have to look for it. Doesn't that sound kind of weird? Have you ever been in a situation where you're doing good and you see somebody else who doesn't seem to be doing good, but they seem to be excelling just like you're excelling? Has anyone ever had that experience? You're doing good, there are people doing bad, and you seem to be getting the same results. Anybody experience that? Am I the only person that's experienced that? Yeah. And the funny thing is, you see them doing this stuff, and you go, I'm getting tired of doing good. Has anyone ever felt like that? I'm just tired of doing good or being good or blah, blah, blah. I just want to give it up. But the thing that's really interesting is that people who do evil and bad, guess what? They never get tired. Do not get tired of doing well. Do not get tired of doing good stuff. All right? Because you're standing up and you're doing the good stuff is someone else's liberty, someone else's freedom. Our silence in the face of evil only encourages what? Evil. Good never gets encouraged by silence. I don't know why. But evil gets encouraged by silence. So when you see stuff and you stand up and you say something, you actually start to change the world. Your speaking up is breaking someone else's chains and someone else's bonds. All right? So we're going to do one more activity, and I think we'll transition to other activities, and I'll give up the floor. I know I've talked your ears to death tonight. I appreciate you playing this game and activities with me and sitting and talking about this kind of weird stuff. But this will be our last activity. So just that way. And if there's there should be a couple more boxes for these markers. Here's one in there. Nope, they don't get it. All right. So let's look at the picture in letter A. The picture in letter A, what is that a picture of? It's a dodo bird. So don't get ahead of me. Don't get ahead of me. Stay with me. All right. So letter A is a picture of a dodo bird, and it's also the picture of what? A man, an island with two trees, a person in a boat, and a big fish. Big blue. So, here's my question. Some people said, was that second image there before you saw it? I want you to think about this just for a second. Was the second image there before you saw it? What two-step process did you have to take to be able to see that second image? Two-step process. The first, say that again. Okay, so you actually had someone point it out to you to realize there was something else. You had to physically do something different. You had to turn the card upside down or right side up, given whatever point of view you had. So that was the first thing. Now, I saw something very interesting. I did see people start turning the card upside down, and then they turned it again, and they turned it again, and they had rotisserie chicken. So although you started doing something different, you also had to do the second step, which was what? Have an open mind and expect something different. So you have to do something different and expect something different. So let's go to letter B. What is that a picture of the letter B? It is a person's face, and it is also the word liar. Now the interesting thing to me is I can see the face or the word liar, but I cannot see both at the same time. Which says to me that if I lock on to one way of seeing the world, then I lock out what? Other ways of seeing the world. However, I'm a human being, so I can learn, change, and grow. Which means if I need to see another way of being or another way of looking at the world, all I have to do is change my mind. Alright? So letter A or letter B. So there's the bird and the island. So to change your paradigm, to change the way you see the world, you need to do something different, and then you need to expect something different. What's the great thing about, anyone ever heard of the American Pit Bull Terrier? The American Pit Bull Terrier? Ever heard of that dog? Okay. What is that dog most known for? What feature makes it different than any other dog? Yes, sir? Lockjaw, right? So they say that this dog, and I don't know from personal experience and don't want to find out, but they say that dog locks on something and it won't let go, right? Now, what's the exciting thing about having a dog whose jaw is locked and someone just broke into your home? What's exciting about that? Yeah, they're not getting away, right? So the dog is on like, and the guy's like, oh no, please help me, help me, help me, right? So that's exciting. What's the scary thing about having a dog whose jaw is locked and you have small children in the home? You might lock on them, right? Your brain and your mind is very much like that American Pit Bull Terrier. You can lock onto something and not let it go. And sometimes we've locked onto the wrong things and we wonder why our life isn't going the way we want. Or we wonder why our friends are the kind of friends that we want. Or I'm not able to do the kinds of things that I want to do. It might be because you've locked on to the wrong thing. But the saving grace about that is you can change what? Your mind. All right? You can change your mind. So I'm going to show a quick video before we go through this last one. And it's really simple. There will be 6 people playing a game. 3 of them will have white shirts on, and 3 of them will have black shirts on. Some of you may have seen this in psychology class, so I want you to hold it to yourself. But I want you to count the number of times that the people in white shirts bounce or pass the ball to other people in white shirts. Okay? I want you to count how many times they bounce or pass the ball to other people in white shirts. All right? Here we go. All right. So how many times did you count? 17? Okay. Anyone get a different number? 19? Okay. What was written on the wall? 5. You said S. Okay. How many doors were there? 2, 3. Okay. How many kids were wearing sweatshirts? 0. Okay. Was there anything else of interest that was also in the video? There was a guy in a gorilla suit. Please raise your hand if you saw a guy in a gorilla suit. No. There's a girl. There's a girl in one. Taylor? You saw a gorilla? Okay, look. Well, it's obvious we don't even see that again, so we'll just move on. There's a gorilla. So let's watch this one more time. What's written on the wall? How many S's? 2. Any 5s? No 5s. But I can see how you can remember that. How many doors? 3. How many kids in sweatshirts? 1. So why do you think that why do you think that people missed? Why do you think people missed the gorilla? Because they were concentrating on the white shirts. All right. On your card, what I want you to look for is I think it's in letter. Oh, it's the number 3. Image in number 3, and I want you to look for something that looks like a top hat. All right. I want you to look for something that looks like a top hat. I want you to look for something that looks like an arrow. And I want you to look for something that looks like a finger pointing, like in those basketball games. We're number 1. All right? And when you find those shapes, can you tell me how they relate to American history? All right. So anyone see the top hat? Yeah. Okay. How does the top hat relate to American history? Abraham Lincoln. Okay, cool. What about the arrow? Anyone see the arrow? Okay. Right here. Yep. And how does that relate to American history? What's that? Segregation. Okay. How else does it relate to American history? The westward expansion. Okay. Cool. And what about the finger pointing? Sports. Okay. So that relates to American history. Sports. Or Uncle Sam, big one give. All right. Is there anything else that can actually give us real concrete information? Fly. What you should be looking for is the word fly. Capital F, capital L, capital Y. Yeah. If you turn your card to the bird's beak, it's facing towards the ceiling, and you draw a line under all of those shapes and over all of those shapes, you'll see white letters on a black background that say fly.
Okay, so does it sound like
Some people see it, some people don't, and some people are faking it, and it's okay. But for those of you who did not see the word fly, but now see it, what was the barrier to being able to see the word fly? You were focusing on the smaller parts, on the black parts. And why were you focusing on the black parts? Okay, let me ask you like this. Who seems like a really cool guy because he got you to look at shapes instead of saying the word fly? You! Is it possible that the people who have told you about the world you live in, who have told you about what you're capable of, how beautiful you are or how beautiful you're not, how intelligent you are or how intelligent you're not, have been telling you information that's been designed to benefit whom? You. Themselves. So how do you know if you should be looking for shapes in your life or the word fly? How do you know if people have your best interest at heart or not? First of all, you have to have your own goals. And and say, this is the kind of life I want to live. This is the kind of thing that I want to do. The second thing you have to do is be an advocate for yourself. What was the second thing I asked you to do after you looked for those shapes? Tell me what? How they relate to American history. Do these shapes have anything to do with American history? No. How many people were thinking that? Like, let's do this crazy. What are you talking about? This has to do with American history.
I just can't talk this song.
How many people said something about it? There's enough people in this world who talk about stuff. There's enough people in this world who can play a good game. There aren't enough people like us who can hear that something is wrong and stand up and do something about it. We don't have to play shadow puppets anymore. We don't have to do just what people ask us to do. We know what's in our heart that is right and good. The fact that we decided that we wanted to follow in Christ's footsteps, He gives us a path that lets us know what's right and good. And so when people want to go off and do crazy things, we have within our soul what we know is right. We have that little voice that you had that said, there's nothing, that's not right. There's nothing with American history going on with that. But we need people to stand up and not be afraid. What is courage? What's courage? If I was king of the forest. Courage. What's courage? What is courage? Have you ever heard of courage? What is it? That's exactly correct. Did you guys hear? Clayton, did you hear what Alex said? No, you didn't hear it? Okay. Would you like him to repeat it or should I?
Did you repeat it? It's not Wizard of Oz thing.
I don't know if I can. I'll try. Alex said. That was my Indian voice. Anyway, no, what Alex said was to do something in spite of fear. To be courageous. The precursor to courage is being what? Afraid. And fear stops most people. But you're going to be courageous because you're going to take that fear, you'll swallow it, and you'll do it anyway. You'll do it anyway. There's dignity and honor in being human. The only way to get that dignity and honor is to do what? The only way to get it is to what? Can I pay for it?
Yeah.